The Ultra Revamp update for Ultrakill introduced a lot of players who don't play Cybergrind to a new enemy buff, Radiance. It's dedicated to making enemies move faster, hit harder, take less damage, and all around become a bigger nuisance. Radiance can't be accessed outside of Encore levels in Cybergrind, but by enabling cheats, pressing F8 to open the console, and typing buffs force Radiance on, we can turn every enemy in the base game into their Radiant counterpart. On screen is a list of changes every enemy gets when they become Radiant. And now we have to ask, how would making every enemy Radiant change the game from a normal playthrough? Would it make the game more challenging? We will go over many different encounters found throughout the game, and will rank each enemy within a tier list. The only rules for this run will be no exploits like out of bounds and AI freezing, and no skipping encounters. We will, however, be using all of the tools given to us by the devs, even if it makes some fights trivial. This video has been recorded in multiple segments over the course of 2025, so fraud and treachery have not been released yet. This also means you're going to see some segments that have been released before Ultra Revamp and some after. This video will also just focus on the main campaign, so no Encore levels, secret levels, or Prime Sanctums will be featured here. And with all tier list content, this is just my opinion. While I have P-ranked every level in the game on Brutal, I am not a pro. So some things I found challenging, you will not, and vice versa. So please, be nice in the comments. And with all of this, let's get the rambling out of the way and begin the playthrough with 0-1 Into the Fire. After completing the boot sequence, we are introduced to a very common theme of this run. The first encounter seems very scary at first, with Filth having a whopping 5 HP, and that's a lot to ask for a relatively weak pistol. However, stomping works as a great means of crowd control, and parrying attacks do not get scaled down by the Radiant HP bonus, and honestly that fact saves the run. A quick tip about the run is to prioritize getting as many secrets as you can, as you will not be obtaining bonus P from stylishly completing levels due to cheats being on. After a few more encounters, we are introduced to our second enemy type, the Stray. They pose zero threat right now and are honestly more helpful than harmful, as parrying their projectiles will refill your health and stamina. And at the end of the level, we are introduced to our old friend Maurice, and he goes down in a few parries just like usual. So all in all, this level is not very hard, and serves as a really good precursor for what's to come. If you can play the game on Brutal normally, you can beat this level just fine. Filth are very tricky in the areas where you cannot camp them, but they are trivial otherwise, so we will be placing them into Tier B. Strays will help you more than they hurt you. With their slow movement speed and predictable fireball timings, they provide valuable health regeneration against the horde of Filth. Tier D. Maurice goes down without any fight at all. Tier D. Up next is 0-2, the Meat Grinder. We find our first real combat encounter of the run here, with 6 Filth and 4 Strays being spawned in this relatively small arena. Most of the Filth can be baited to jump to their deaths, however. Other than that, just make sure your parries are on point. The final encounter can be quite tricky, with yet another tight space to move around in, and the Filth here can chunk your health bar if you're not on the move at all times, but you can regain most if not all of it by parrying stray fireballs as they come. Abuse the marksman while moving fast and this room becomes a non-issue. This level has a lot more close spaces than the previous, resulting in Filth becoming a lot scarier than they were, up a tier to Tier A. Strays still help out V1 by providing frequent and easy parries, so they're staying at Tier D, and there was no Maurice in this level, so Tier D it stays. In the future, I won't be mentioning any enemies that do not appear in the level. 0-3, Double Down. We get our first encounter with Schisms in this level, but just use Sharpshooter to instantly blow them up. The Swords Machine is also introduced here, and if your parries are on point, he becomes a non-issue. Just parry the first hit of his melee combo and dash out of the way with your refilled stamina bar. Rinse and repeat for both encounters. We also unlock the Shotgun in this level, which is a much needed AoE buff to help deal with the crowds of Filth Prelude likes to throw our way. The Filth are much less scary now that we have projectile boosts in our arsenal. Still, if you slip up even once, you can kiss half your health goodbye. That combined with being hard to parry keeps them in Tier A. Strays continue to be parry food, which provide much needed health regen. Tier D. Schisms only show up a handful of times and are trivialized by the Sharpshooter, though take your eye off them for more than a second and you'll likely eat a projectile or two. Tier C. Swords Machine is more of an execution check than anything, as the fights with it take place solo. I can imagine this thing getting really annoying in some of the later levels, but for now it goes in Tier D. 0-4, a One Machine Army. The first encounter has a lot of Strays and Filth in a large room, and it may look scary, but moving fast and abusing projectile boosts and overpumps will get you through just fine. Maurice shows up again, and you will notice his beam attack firing much quicker than it normally does. You will want to take these times as opportunities to practice strats for taking care of him. You'll thank me later in Act 2. Parrying his fireballs does a significant amount of damage, and shotgun parrying the laser will deal a good chunk as well. Keep moving quickly and don't get hit. Mastering the art of dodging his fireballs while being up close is crucial for later layers. The same rules apply for the final encounter as well. Move fast and keep parrying. Nothing else to it. Filth are starting to get really annoying. They require you to plan out each encounter based on their spawn patterns as to not get overwhelmed, and each encounter so far has boiled down to how best to eliminate the hordes with projectile boosts and overpumps. Not even Sawdon can solo a horde safely. Tier A. Strays are still a joke. Tier D. And we only see one Maurice in this level, but he does show what a threat he can be in a bigger encounter. We can upgrade him to Tier C. And Schisms are still sharpshooter bait since the combat encounters are still small. Tier C. Oh god. 0-5 Cerberus. We'll get back to this one later. On to Act 1 proper, starting with 1-1 Heart of the Sunrise. Throw a coin into the well for good luck. This level introduces drones, and what a nuisance they are. The biggest apparent change is their speed, making them much harder to hit. They also take a whopping 3 coins just to kill a single drone, so they get really annoying really fast. Thankfully, their projectiles are just as prone to missing as they always are. This level also introduces the nail gun, and this is going to be one of our best friends moving forward, as Conduction saves this run in multiple places. The final encounter can be a bit tricky, with many drones spawning at the last phase. If they get too overwhelming, you can break the glass on the ceiling and hide up there. And don't forget to click the terminal to unlock the slab revolver. Hordes of filth are as annoying as ever. Thankfully, they spawn pretty far away from V1, so shotgun parries can be used to disrupt their march. They will stay in Tier A. Strays are just as much of a joke as always. Tier D. You know, I'm not going to be mentioning strays anymore, they're not going anywhere. Schisms can be tricky to deal with in the final encounter due to the small nature of the room. They force you to move quickly and to stay on your toes, upgrading to Tier B. And drones are really pesky. They move fast and become extremely threatening when you're at low health. Overpumps prevent them from becoming truly nightmarish, however. Tier A. In 1-2 The Burning World, we can use our newfound Conductor nail gun to finally get rid of those pesky filth hordes in an efficient manner. The second encounter is yet again another tightly cramped arena with way too many enemies, and the filth here are extremely terrifying if you don't conduct them as soon as possible. And the Schisms and drone combo proved to be really annoying as well, forcing us to either duck and weave around the corners of the room, or time to well-placed sharpshooter. The next enemy to be introduced is the Street Cleaner, and for now they are oddly easier than normal, as their fast walk speed unintentionally forces them into overextending. They will get much more annoying later on, however, so don't worry. Don't forget to take the secret path to fight both the rodents, getting us one step closer to the slab revolver. The very cancerous rodent can still be killed using 3 sharpshooter counters and a few shotgun parries, and the final encounter is once again pretty difficult. The constant harassment from drones and street cleaners can be a lot to deal with. Use the strays as parry food to keep your HP high, and you should make it out in one piece. Filth are getting a little bit easier, but will remain in Tier A due to their priority status in combat encounters. Schism's difficulty largely stems from the arena they are placed in so far, so Tier B they remain. And drones are still as pesky as ever, absolutely deserving of Tier A. Street Cleaners have the potential to be recipes for disaster, with fast movement speed, good tracking, and high damage. Since they are the focal point of this level, they aren't that bad, but take your eye off them for more than a second and you can wish half your HP bar goodbye. Tier A. 1-3 Halls of Sacred Remains. This will be the first real roadblock in the run up to this point in the video. We'll get back to you later. We want to collect both skulls in this level to complete the secret encounter, so red path we go. It's one of the real gatekeepers of the run, as you will need to readjust from base Ultrakill to overcome it. It's tough, but mostly fair. The level gives you a lot of time to fully adjust to the faster pace of the game, but will not pull any punches in doing so, and it truly is the "you must be this tall to ride" indicator for the rest of Act 1. Agony and Tundra are easier than you'd think. The fight looks almost impossible at a glance, but parrying their sword toss takes away about a third of their HP. Just hang back and focus on parries and you'll be fine. No need to even shoot your weapons. And the same thing goes for Hideous Mass. Soap him if you get too frustrated. But if you want to fight him without dev intended cheese, you can abuse parry and reflect the fireballs and the grapple attack. This is very difficult due to the HP pool of the boss, but it is more than feasible. Cerberus makes a comeback in this level, and oh boy is he a doozy. These dudes are already enough of a threat on Brutal, but Radiance on top of that makes them nigh unbearable. Easy S tier, and they only get worse from here. Street Cleaners are just as troublesome as ever. Take your eyes off them for even a moment and you're almost dead. Tier A. Schisms are annoying, yet completely manageable now if your play is strong, downgrading back to Tier C. I guess we can mention Swords Machines again since Agony and Tundra are in this level. They're annoying, but largely non-threatening if your parry game is on point. Upgrading to Tier C. Maurice is starting to appear more frequently now, and can even show up in pairs. This, paired with the lack of whiplash, makes them an easy candidate for promotion. Tier B. Hideous Mass is the boss of this level. He's a tough one if you don't use Soap. Tier A for sure. But if you use Soap, he will be in Tier D. Alright, and now for the easiest level in the game, 1-4 Clair to Lune. Be sure to grab the slab revolver before the fight. Now that's some much needed firepower. Go into the arena and do the coin punching strat. Now this will take out over 80% of V2's health, leaving you to take care of the rest with your remaining coins. Easy as cake. V2 goes on the bottom of D tier, not threatening in any remote capacity. Layer 2. We start out with 2-1 Bridge Burner. We've obtained the Knuckle Blaster, but the health increase of every enemy dramatically lowers its effectiveness. However, it still retains some usefulness in getting drones off of you. The tower climb isn't bad at all, and neither is the first encounter on this so-called bridge. The second counter is where it gets dicey, because we get to fight Cerberus again. That, along with the street cleaner in the cramped lower section, means you can get easily caught off guard and have to redo the whole first encounter again. The climb through the tower isn't that bad. There's one section with a bunch of filth and 2 street cleaners, but marksman and overpump can get you through just fine. With the enemy list getting increasingly longer, talking about each one after a level will become tedious and repetitive, so starting now we will keep the analysis to the news and notables, i.e. tier changes, big threats, or new additions. Drones are really starting to get on my nerves. They're spawning more frequently and in less opportune positions. They remain tier A but have tier SS ranking for animosity in my heart. And Cerberus is hard no matter where you fight him. Thankfully we can use Sawdon for good damage and parrying his fireballs if the AI doesn't throw them into nowhere. He's easily the hardest enemy in the game thus far and more than deserves the S tier ranking. Street cleaners come in a close second however, as their movement and fire bursts are super lethal, upgrading to tier S. Other than that, the rankings stand as is. 2-2 Death at 20,000 volts. This level introduces the Soldier. These guys are super annoying, with their fast movement speed giving you no time to breathe. Thankfully they don't shoot when running underneath you, so you can just jump and use slab sharpshooter and coins, Slarp coin for short, to nuke a whole wave of these guys. Take each encounter here slow and steady. You don't want to mess up and have to redo an entire encounter because you died on the last switch. Cerberus continues to be a nasty piece of work I cannot vilify enough. His spawning in paired with soldiers and Maurices to back him up creates a nasty combo. Keep on the move and don't let his charge combo you to death. We unlock the railgun in this level as well. This will become a total run saver later down the line, but for now enjoy conduction chaining enemies, as it makes the last room much easier. The final room has a wave of drones that's notable for being really annoying to deal with, but other than the Cerberus it's not all that crazy. Just don't die and have to redo all 3 switches again, Lamau. Soldiers, what a menace they are. They move fast, hit hard, and are immune to yellow explosions. They are a giant nuisance that simply cannot be ignored in a fight, easily tier S. Filth are really starting to feel the effects of power creep. Now that we have the electric railgun, conduction renders the once terrifying hordes to nothing more than blood-filled pinatas waiting to heal you, downgrading to tier B. And schisms are also a joke by now. Their accuracy issues continue to befall them, and they just serve as conduction bait at this point, downgrading to tier D. 2-3 Sheer Heart Attack. This level honestly plays out like an easier version of the previous level. All prior strategies work just the same here. You can use the water in both the main room and the secret exit room for easy conduction chains. And the third encounter is a bit tricky at first, but the open spaces and deadly floor lend itself to the soldiers killing themselves randomly. Spam conduction in the opening wave and you should be fine. We get introduced to the Mind Flayer as well. They aren't all that bad so far because the 2 times they do spawn, there's minimal company to back them up, so Sharpshooter and Screwdriver are very good at dealing with them right now. The Radiance buff makes them spam the parryable fireballs and teleport much more frequently, so shutting these down as best you can is very advisable. Other than that, this level is mostly a cakewalk compared to 2-2. Mind Flayers have a lot of potential to be really annoying, but just like the Archvile in Doom 2, they're very rare. This holds them back from being a truly evil force in this run, tier B. Otherwise, the rankings largely remain the same. Soldiers and street cleaners continue to be the brunt of your focus. 2-4 Court of the Corpse King. This is yet another boss level, but this one isn't too bad. The hand is honestly the hardest part, as it refuses to die with our current power level, and 2 shockwaves are enough to take you from 100 to 0 real fast. This one might take a while to get past, but the key is predictively moving from left to right to dodge the shockwaves. He rarely, if ever, goes left, then left again, and vice versa. After a vertical shockwave, head to that side and stay there. The actual fight itself is much easier. He punches at a much faster pace, which means more parries, and parries don't scale. Just don't get hit by the purple orb of death. Overall, the hand is definitely S tier, with the fight itself as D tier, so this averages out to a B, where the Corpse King will sit for the remainder of this video. Here comes the crescendo of Act 1, Belly of the Beast. We start out strong with a Mind Flayer right out the gate. Thankfully, the only backup he has is a few strays, so we can focus him down no problem. The rest of the encounter is fine, ending with a Cerberus 1v1 in a nice open room to camp him out in. The next encounter is more of the same. Cerberus can't hit you when you're underwater, so camping them out is more than doable. Railcoin openings, as always, are highly recommended. The staircase room is easy, nothing of note here. The next room looks overwhelming, but a well-timed coin interrupt can make do with the first wave. The Maurices here can be hard if you've not been practicing the counterplay, so use this as your final prep for Act 2. The final encounter puts us face to face with our mortal nemesis, a large wave of drones with a mind flare to follow it up. It's annoying, but nothing you haven't encountered thus far. The enemies in this level are more of what you've been prepared for already, so thus none of the rankings will change. We finally made it to the final boss of Act 1, Gabriel, the Judge of Hell. This fight is really annoying due to the twin axe throw. Parry is the only way to do consistent high damage to the boss, along with being necessary to sustain yourself. However, the axe throw hitbox is notoriously inconsistent and difficult to parry, even after they changed it in Ultra Revamp. This alone makes the fight so much more chokeable than it otherwise would be, as you realistically need to be parrying everything Gabe throws at you. Keep calm, move fast, and keep your parries on lock. Gabe will fall eventually. The axe toss alone puts Gabe into tier A. Act 2! We finally made it with 4-1 Slaves to Power. Prepare for a giant jump in difficulty, with by far the worst enemy in the game, Virtues. So remember their change in Brutal how the orbital nuke lasts for long enough for another one to be fired? Now double the firing rate. That's right, these assholes get to have 2 orbital strikes on the field simultaneously. Words cannot stress enough how infuriating this will be in future encounters. Just you wait for layer 5. The first 2 encounters are totally fine since you can double kill them with a piercing railgun. The final encounter, however, is a giant pain. Triple Cerberus, double Virtue, and cover for both to hide in. Welcome to one massive roadblock. Take care of the Virtues as soon as you possibly can, no matter what it takes. And just remember, it only gets worse from here. Much worse. Virtues go straight into the top of S tier, nothing else to say. Making our way to 4-2, Goddamn the Sun. Before the forking pass, we get introduced to the Stalker. They cover enemies in sand and can be a real pain if left forgotten about with their increased movement speed. Since they're the new shiny enemy of the level, we get ample time to deal with them however. This limits their potential for mayhem. For the Skull Pass, I personally recommend doing the red one first. The 3 Maurices here initially look like quick kill heaven, but be warned, as killing them is the key to spawning more enemies. It's best just to kill one, clear the enemies that death spawns, and then repeat. It's slow, but it's safe. Dealing with the alternative of street cleaners, soldiers, and a Virtue all at the same time is just too much. The blue path isn't that bad, just take care of the Virtues as quickly as you can and they'll be alright. The boss for this level is the Insurrectionist, and let's just say old habits die hard. Maurices are starting to get really challenging now. With how frequently they spawn and with the other high priority enemies to take our focus off of them, they're proving to be one tough cookie. Hope you got your quick kill practice in during Act 1, upgrading to tier A. Stalkers, as mentioned previously, are too prominent to slip by our gaze and start sanding everything behind our backs, tier D, and the Insurrectionist can be killed without even fighting it, so it goes in tier D. Entering the pyramid, we are greeted with 4-3, A Shot in the Dark. There are 2 major choke points in this level, the dual wield room and the final encounter. The dual wield room gets extremely overwhelming if you summon everything at once, so it's recommended to go one pillar at a time. Abuse dual wield conduction as needed. I recommend taking the back right one first as it's the one with the Virtue in it. The rest of the order is largely up to personal preference, but mine is back right, front right, then back left. Make sure the enemies do not light the other pillars on accident, otherwise you'll be in for a real rough time. The final room, however, is one of the biggest difficulty spikes in the run. If you haven't been hard stuck on an encounter for a day or 2 yet, this is likely where the first one will be. We don't have the Whiplash yet, so abusing soap becomes nigh impossible. The strategy I came up with is to immediately railgun the first Virtue, use conduction to clear out the fodder enemies, and then do your best not to die to the other Virtues as you navigate the map. B-hopping around here to conserve your stamina is a must, as you don't want to be caught without a dash when a Virtue beams you. The difficulty here stems from the large arena lending itself to you forgetting things, street cleaners sneaking up on you, stalkers standing everything behind your back, and a stray Maurice laser hitting you from out of nowhere. It's a perfect storm. Keep your head down, work fast, and be patient. Victory will come eventually. Now is when stalkers become really annoying. As mentioned previously, take your eyes off of them for too long and everything can become sanded before you even realize what happened, upgrading to tier C. Otherwise, the list remains the same. Now we get to our first real encounter with V2. Do not forget to grab the saw blade before going to fight him. It's strange that a lot of people don't seem to know that you can do this to begin with, but for this run, it's essential. V2's AI is programmed to circle strafe around the player. In normal gameplay, both robots circle strafing each other leads to this sort of dance. However, V2 is much faster in Radiance as you can clearly see. Circle strafing him is pointless at this speed difference, so the strategy becomes to put down a saw trap and stand in it. With luck, V2 will strafe around you right into the trap, taking lots of damage. Be sure to parry his pistol shots, deflect his coins back at him, and attach the jumpstart cable when possible. If you can maintain good aim, this fight isn't so bad. The second phase is just as easy as normal, just shotgun swap him to death. V2 is tough if you try to play his game, but forcing him to play ours makes him much more manageable. He definitely sits around where Gabe is in terms of threat. Tier A. With the Whiplash and Sawblade in hand, surely things will get easier, right? On to Wrath now, with 5-1 in the wake of Poseidon. The initial fight can be largely trivialized by the electric rail cannon, just make sure not to accidentally zap yourself twice and die. The 3 skull rooms play out as normal honestly, just abuse conduction to your heart's content. After collecting all 3 skulls we get introduced to another new enemy, the Sentry. The big thing with these guys is their charge timer is significantly shorter, messing with your established rhythm and your chargeback timings, making them very formidable in the final encounter. Take cover as needed and you should make it out just fine. Sentries go into A tier for now, but I can imagine future encounters making them much more annoying to deal with. Saw traps trivialize soldiers now as well, downgrading them to tier A. On to 5-2, Waves of the Starless Sea. This level is a breeze except for one single encounter. The double idol room is without a doubt the hardest normal fight in the run, and this one alone took me days to map out and complete. It is unfair, unfun, and a giant pain in the neck. The successful attempt started out with an insta-kill on the Maurice, followed with a saw trap to take care of the soldiers. Fine, free, whatever. What is bad is the second wave. 2 Cerberus and an idled Virtue within a room the size of a luxury apartment. You can't play Airborne to escape the Cerberus, and you can't play Grounded to avoid the Virtue. What I found to work is to saw trap one of the Cerberus, then use Sawdon for good damage and chip away until my health gets low. When it does get low, I use the screwdriver to keep myself topped up and hopefully have killed the Cerberus by now. For the second Cerberus, you need to hope its AI plays nicely to give you fireballs to parry. Otherwise you won't have enough HP to outlast it due to the enraged Virtue. If all goes well, you should then be able to break the second idol and proceed to the end. I mean, just listen to my reaction upon clearing the room.
In large parts because Pokemon have gotten
I hate this fucking apartment, holy shit. That's not a pop-off, that's a cry of relief to be done with this hell. Oh yeah, there's the ferryman. He's alright, I guess. The idol goes in S tier because of the apartment room. I shouldn't have to justify why. And the ferryman goes in C tier. Journeying over to the level that took by far the longest to complete in this run, all aboard the RMS Death Odyssey, the Ship of Fools. What is my favorite level in the base game has now been turned into a ruthless gauntlet. The Red Skull Path is an open space full of Maurices, soldiers, Cerberus, a turret, and a Mind Flayer just to top it all off. The room is hard and took a long time to figure out how to get past. My strategy is quit killing the 2 Maurices, using Saw Trap to deal with filth and strays, then trying my best to survive the Cerberus. The Cerberus and turret combo is too much to deal with, so staggering enemy spawns intentionally is the key. Saving one of the soldiers intentionally to delay the turret spawn is a big boon for V1, so just focus on the Cerberus and don't touch anything else until they are dead. After that, the turret and Mind Flayer are a piece of cake. The blue path starts out much more nicely. You can use conduction to make quick work of the 2 Cerberus that appear in their statues, and Maurice is no trouble on his own. The next room, however, can be much more challenging. We get a Virtue and 2 sentries. Railgun or Slarkcoin the Virtue, then put down a Saw Trap to take care of the fodder spawns, and charge back the sentries. Then take care of the soldiers that spawn. Overall, the blue skull path is much easier than the red skull, but neither compared to the dual wield room. This was by far the fight I spent the longest puzzle solving for over the course of the playthrough, and took about 4 days and well over 800 attempts alone just to clear. I'll put the footage of my successful clear on screen and just let it speak for itself. This room is not easy in the slightest. One small misstep and you're eating a Virtue Beam, a Mind Flayer laser, a Cerberus tackle, or all 3 at the same time. The rest of the level, thankfully, is a giant cakewalk. We unlock the rocket launcher now, but by this point in the run it's too little too late. Cannonballs are a much welcome addition to help deal with Cerberus, but in layers 6 and 7 most of their threat is over. With 5-3 concluded, I'm going to make an entirely new tier to promote Virtues into. They go in SS tier because of the dual wield room and the apartment room in 5-2. They are the omnipresent meta threat in every encounter they find themselves in and must be dealt with immediately to ensure survival. Told you it was going to get worse. Sentries are also getting promoted to S tier. They spawn more frequently and in areas where taking cover is simply not feasible, making them a real force to be reckoned with. And after that mess of a level, we find ourselves against 5-4, the Leviathan. He's just as much of a breeze as he always is. If you're competent at rocket riding, he should pose no real threat like normal. Send explosions into his mouth during the projectile spam attack for massive damage. The Leviathan goes in tier B. 6-1, Cry for the Weeper is honestly much more fun on Radiant outside of the final fight. I genuinely recommend anyone who does not find the game challenging anymore to give it a shot. The fights for once are tough but fair, creating a very joyful experience. That is, until we make it to the last encounter. The double hideous mass fight is another among the most challenging in the game. Parries do unnerf damage, so if you can parry 2 fireballs and a harpoon, you can effectively insta-kill one of the 2. After the first dies, I recommend leaving the second one alone, as you won't be able to beat it with a swords machine and soldiers tearing you to pieces at the same time. Take care of the others with saw traps and whatever else you have at your disposal, then focus the 2 Cerberus with cannonballs and sawdons, all while avoiding the massive ground slams from the hideous mass that's still alive. Once the rest of the enemies are dealt with, the last mass should be a breeze to deal with. With the final encounter, we are promoting hideous mass to a well-deserved tier S. And we've finally made it to the climax of Act 2 with 6-2 Aesthetics of Hate. Game 2 is normally much easier than Game 1, but his second phase can pose quite a challenge if you let your guard down. Overall, keep the saw traps up, spam conduction, and parry the ending attacks of his combos. He won't pose a threat anywhere near the likes of what you saw in Layer 5. Tier B. With Game 2 defeated, we made it to our final layer, starting with 7-1 Garden of Forking Paths. We are introduced to the mannequins straight away, and they're nothing compared to what's been thrown at us already. They're fast, but not very tanky, and our maxed out arsenal takes care of them with little issue. The rest of the level proceeds like a less challenging version of 5-3. Double Cerberus is still challenging, but not quite horror-inducing like it used to be. The really annoying part of this level is the Minotaur fight. Who would have thought taking the worst boss fight in the game and juicing its health and damage would have been annoying? The trick to this fight is to slow it down. Keep airborne outside of its attack range, spam shotgun parries and saw traps, then use screwdriver once your health gets low. Parry the filth that spawned to keep your health high as well. Rinse and repeat for an excruciating amount of time. The second phase is fast but not challenging. Keep on the move and parry every tackle coming your way. The mannequins are not a threat. Our arsenal makes them extremely trivial like normal. Tier D. The Minotaur is very annoying, but playing defense makes it light work as well, but it's going in Tier B due to how miserable the fight is. 7-2 Light of the Night could be skipped entirely, but I'm not gonna. Make sure to complete the platforming challenges if you want to unlock the jackhammer. We get introduced to the Gutterman right away, and oh boy is he a doozy. As someone who never practiced many quick kills on them in the base game, it surely came around to bite me in the rear on Radiance. They are much tankier, and their tracking ability on Radiance feels heavily increased. Do not break the shield until you are ready to focus an individual Gutterman down. If they ever get too overwhelming, resort to taking cover and abusing the power of cheese. After a few encounters, we get introduced to the Gutter Tank. They can be dealt with in the same vein as normal. Use freeze frame and then spam long range damage. Everything up until the final encounter has been relatively easy, and that trend remains unbroken. Saw traps, railgun, and freeze frame make light work of this fight. Guttermen can be really annoying if you make the wrong play and get caught out in the open, so they go in Tier A. Gutter tanks serve little challenge with freeze frame and fire starter rendering their attacks useless. Tier B. 7-3 No Sound No Memory is also subject to cheese in the final few encounters. Just let the infighting enemies take themselves out first and then pick up the stragglers. The second tree is our first real fight, with the return of public enemy number 1. Railgun both of them, insta-kill the Maurice, and then just use conduction for everything else. Fights are really starting to blend together at this point in the run. And for those of you in the comments who want me to do this on Marked for Death, no! After this, we encounter the infighting portion of the level. One nice thing about the increased enemy damage is that they kill each other way faster than normal. The swords machine and mannequins die long before we even notice they're around to hurt us, for instance. Same goes for the third tree encounter as well. The final encounter can be cheesed by hiding in the top of the map and waiting for everything else to die, and honestly, you don't miss much if you go down that route. The enemies kill each other so fast that there isn't much left for V1 to take care of. Just make sure not to get overrun by soldiers and you won't find much of a challenge here. Puppets are a very weird enemy to rank, as they only take the form of other enemies and don't do anything themselves. Thankfully, in this level, they only transform into fodder, so they don't pose much of a threat in the fights they are present in. Tier D. And now we finally made it to our last stop, 7-4 Like Intent is to Heaven. This level, just like the rest of Layer 7, is a total layup compared to what Act 2 brought us. The first notable encounter in this level isn't even until halfway through with the security system. Skip it using the secret if the fight gets too boring. Frankly, I don't blame you. The projectile spam is a bit much in this fight. Rockets get thrown your way much more frequently. It can easily send you back to the beginning if you're not careful. Take care of the rocket launchers as soon as possible and the fight becomes much easier. Deal with the rest as you've done before. Saw traps, conduction, and sharpshooter interrupts as needed. The brain fight is much easier than normal, surprisingly. The brain fires projectiles much faster than usual, so parrying them for the one cycle becomes extremely easy. Same goes for the final encounter as well. The timer initially seems like a big hurdle, but using the tried and true conduction spam will trivialize the fight. The actual fight with Benjamin is easier than it normally is. One cycling it becomes very easy. So our last boss on this list sadly goes into Tier C. And with that, we have our rankings. It's unfortunate that we had to end on such a low note, but I hope everyone enjoyed the video, and... Huh? What's that? Oh right, we have to talk about Cerberus now, don't we? This fight is easily the hardest in the game, and it's not even close. I tried for hours to beat this level within the confines of the rules, and the only conclusion I came to is this fight is completely luck-based. The only strategy I found to work is rotating between Core Eject, Sawdon, and Piercer, while praying Cerberus' AI cooperates and throws lots of fireballs to parry. Do not dash for any reason other than to avoid a tackle, as if you run out of stamina at any point, you're probably dead. There is no consistent strat as far as I'm aware. If either Cerberus decides to tackle 3 times in a row, your run is dead and there's basically nothing you can do about it. There is the cheese strategy as shown in the beginning of the video that gets one of the Cerberi to clip out of bounds using its charge attack, which instantly kills it. This, however, goes against our no glitches rule laid out in the beginning. So because of this, we are making yet another tier for Cerberus to sit as the rightful king of this challenge. We will promote Cerberus to SSS+++ tier, a truly immovable object. And there we go, for real this time. If we were to rearrange the tier list to account for all portions of the run, the final rankings would look more like this. And for those of you who want me to do a weapons tier list as well, here you go. Again, these are my opinions, so you might have different luck with other weapons than I did. Go play and experiment. Just skip layer 5 if you value your sanity. And with all of that, I think I'm done here. Don't bother liking or subscribing, I'm never doing one of these again. Back to posting fighting game combos I go. Take care everybody.